Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Leo. Nice to meet you all. So to start, before we get into things, I'm going to ask that you mute your microphones if you don't mind. And that way we don't have a bunch of feedback or things going on in the background. So we'll wait for everyone to get settled and be able to do that.
Do you want the video off too?
It's not necessary. It doesn't matter if you have the video on or off. So whatever works for you.
Yeah, Daddy bought it for me.
Right. So just a minute. We'll let everyone get settled. Just another second. So if you're just joining us, if you wouldn't mind just muting your microphone, and that way we don't have a bunch of feedback going, that'd be awesome.
Ken, if you want the video.
All right.
How do I turn the volume up?
So if you don't know how to mute, it should be somewhere down the bottom. If you hit your the little icon that looks like a microphone, you should be able to mute the volume on there. Awesome. So my name's Leo. I'm a physical therapist with Pappas OPT, and I'm glad that everyone could join us this afternoon. Today we're going to be addressing some issues that a lot of us have been experiencing with some of the COVID-19 changes that have happened. Also, something that people may encounter other than during a crisis time, when you have a job that requires that you spend a lot of time sitting on the computer or in a posture for a prolonged period of time. So as a physical therapist, this is something I see a lot. We have patients that come in with shoulder pain, with neck pain, low back pain. And a lot of times is that they're in one position at work for a very long period of time. So sometimes that's the direct cause of pain, and other times when you're working, you're in a sitting position or a standing position for a long period of time, and then you go to complete an activity throughout the day, whether it's a recreational activity like going out for a run or going for a bike ride or kayaking, or something that you do on a daily basis like reaching up into a cabinet, something like that, that your body's not prepared for because it spends a lot of time in one position. So today, what we're going to do is go through some of the reasons why posture causes some of the pain that you're having. And we're going to go through specific exercises that you can do to help relieve some of the symptoms of pain and also prevent it from occurring in the first place. So when you're sitting and everything is in front of you, especially when you're on a computer and you have a mouse in front of you or a keyboard in front of you, your arms come forward like this and your center of attention is directed forward. So what that does is it brings everything rounded in front of you. Now from a side view, that looks like this, right? To where you come and now everything is in front of you this way. What that does is it puts some stress on the muscles in the back, right? In the back of the neck and in between the shoulder blades, because they are stretched out to a point where now they are not able to do their job properly. Now, when that happens, some of the muscles in the front, in the chest, in the shoulder, and in the front of the neck get shortened. So now all of a sudden you have this shortened musculature in the front and lengthened musculature in the back, and it causes irritation. And it's very common that when you're sitting in a position for a prolonged period of time that you're not thinking about it, and this slowly occurs over time. Now, sometimes you will get pain from posture that will travel down your arms or into your back that is coming from your neck. And the reason being is because when your spine is positioned, your neck is positioned in a way where your head is forward, like this. You are actually closing down on some of the spaces in the back of the spine where you have nerves that run out of there. So some of the exercises that we do today are going to be specific to addressing some of those areas of issue. Now, it is also very common, other than neck pain and shoulder pain, for you to get lower back pain and hip pain. from being in a prolonged sitting posture. And part of that is because the muscles that are sitting in the front of your hip flexors, become shortened, and the glutes become less able to do their job to propel you forward and to create power through the legs. When you have stiffness in your hips, it can translate to increased forces being sent through your spine when you're doing activities. So again, a lot of the things that we focus on today will be to address some of those limitations. So we're going to go through a bunch of different exercises. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. It's probably easiest if we save that for the end of the video, and that way we can address those things at once. So if you have questions on specifics of certain exercises, I'm going to do my best to explain as we go, but we'll save those for the end, and that way I can get to everybody's questions. Let me see. There was anything else I wanted to address before we started to go into. Okay, so besides these specific exercises that we're doing, I would say one of the best ways to avoid having pain from prolonged posture, whether it's sitting or standing, is to try to address the need for movement every day. So even if it's just going for a short walk after dinner, or maybe starting your day with some sort of activity that you like to do, whether it's yoga or anything that gets you moving, that has shown to be the best way to reduce posture-related pain. It's going to increase blood circulation and nerve mobility and all of these things that will help reduce your pain. All right, so that being said, if you can get outside at all during this time, that's a great way to reduce some of the pain that you'll have from prolonged posture issues. All right, so what we'll do is we'll start with exercises that will work to address some of the neck and shoulder pain, and we'll go through like we would in real time. So most of the stretches will be held for about 30 seconds, and we'll do them twice. And for that reason, we'll go through, and if you think of any questions, write them down. We'll address them at the end. So we'll start with the shoulder and the neck, and then we'll go into some of the hip and low back stretches and exercises, all right? So the first thing that we're going to do is address some of that forward head posture that creates pain often in the back of the head and in the neck. It's very common to have headaches associated with this type of pain because it shortens some of the muscles that sit at the base of the skull and attach to the top of the spine. So the first one, it's actually, you may want to do this one in private, not around your coworkers, because you look silly. You make yourself have a double chin like this, right? So your head is normally sitting forward like this. What we're going to do is the chin tuck. So I'm going to ask you to give yourself a double chin, like you're drawing your head straight back, and hold it for a second, and then relax. And we're going to do this 10 times. And what this does is help to open up some of the spaces in the back of the head and strengthen some of the deep neck flexors, which is important for posture. All right, so we'll go through and do that 10 times. Awesome. So give it a little rest. And then we're going to do one more set of that to reinforce it. Normally, when I see patients that have a limitation that requires this exercise, I recommend 2 sets of 10. This one can be done throughout the day. It's not going to cause you to be sore, and it can be easily done in sitting. So if you have a reminder that you can set yourself, that is helpful. I know I have a lot of teachers in my family, and they've been experiencing these kind of things. So they've actually built into their classes some movement time for their students, which has been helpful for them because it allows them to have some time to move. So that's one way you can incorporate this. So we'll do that one more time, another set of 10. Awesome. So that's the first exercise, chin tucks. The next is going to be a stretch that addresses some tight muscles in your neck in 3 different ways. And we're going to do each way for 30 seconds each side. So the first way, I'll have your hand go behind your back, one hand like this. And what that will do is it will lock down the shoulder blade. So the shoulder blade will not be moving. These muscles attach from the neck to the shoulder blade. So for example, the first stretch we're going to do is coming this way. If your shoulder rises up, you won't be stretching the muscle. So that defeats the purpose. So having your arm behind your back, if you can get it there. And we're going to take our opposite hand and bring one ear directly towards your shoulder. You should feel a stretch on this side of your neck. And we're going to hold this for about 30 seconds. Now, the reason you want to hold it for about 30 seconds is because it takes between 20 and 30 seconds to actually make a change in muscle length when you're going through a stretch. Awesome. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's take the hand you were just reaching with, put it behind your back. Awesome. This next stretch is going to be similar in position. So you're going to have one hand behind your back, but your head will be coming forward and down this time. And that's going to address a very specific muscle that attaches from your neck under the tip of your shoulder blade. So it'll look like this, right? You'll have your arm behind your back, and then you'll be bringing your arm like you're going to smell your opposite armpit. And we'll hold this for 30 seconds. Awesome. Now we'll switch and we'll do the other side. Awesome. Very good. And the third direction that we'll do this next stretch will be into rotation. So for this one, you're going to take one hand and push it towards the same side shoulder. And be gentle with this one. Don't crank on your neck or anything like that, but this should feel like a stretch in the side. Awesome. And we'll do the same thing to the opposite direction. Very good. So those are some of my favorite stretches for loosening up the muscles in the neck. They can be very helpful. I would suggest doing them a few times a day if you feel like they are helping you to move a little bit better. The neck and the shoulders are very, very interconnected. You have a lot of muscles that attach from the neck to the shoulders, along with the thoracic spine, which is the part of your back, which is just below the neck. So making sure that those areas have movement as well are very important. So the next one that we're going to do is going to address some shoulder mobility. I'm going to show you right against the back wall here, but you can do this at any corner in your house, or if you have a doorway, it can be very helpful. What we're going to be doing is stretching the pec muscle in the front. So I'll demonstrate that for you, okay? So you're going to want to find a corner or a doorway. Your arm will be up in this position. From the side, it'll look like this. Now what we'll do is we'll hold that stretch for 30 seconds on each side, and we'll do it twice. You should feel the stretch in the front, and your arm should be up against the doorway to where you can step through it and allow your body to come forward. That looks great. From what I can see in the videos, it looks awesome. If you feel like you're getting pinching on the top of your shoulder, you can drop your arm down just a little bit, and that may relieve some of that. So we're going to hold that stretch for 30 seconds, and then I can tell you when to switch. From what I can see in the videos, looks like you guys are doing this awesome. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. Awesome. And let's do it one more time on each side. So we'll switch back to the first side. And you can switch. Very good. So for this next one, we're going to incorporate some active movement into some of the things that we just addressed in terms of stretching. This is important because getting the muscles to fire, using your brain to tell the nerves, to tell the muscles to turn on and work is important for keeping the muscles healthy. It's going to improve blood flow and reduce the amount of pain that you're having from the muscles being in a still position. So this next one, we're going to incorporate a mild chin tuck. And if you've ever made a snow angel, it'll be the same thing, but standing up. So if you have an open wall to do this on, it's easy to do it on the wall because you can keep everything against the wall at the same time. If you don't have a wall to work with right now, that's just fine. I'll demonstrate it on the back wall so that you know exactly what it'll look like. So you'll keep your chin nice and tucked. Awesome. So keeping your chin tucks and your ribs nice and tight. So keeping your core activated. We'll do that 10 times. This looks awesome. Try to keep your head nice and still, nice and straightforward. After 10, you can give it a little bit of a rest. And we'll do a second set whenever you're done with 10. Awesome. So if you guys are finishing up the last couple, I'll go until we see you're done. Looks good. Awesome. So that incorporates some of the active movement overhead, which is great for some of the shoulder blade movement that we need. The next one will be a stretch for some of the muscles that wrap around the back of the shoulder. And that'll look like this. So you'll take one arm and bring it across. You'll take the other arm and like you're hugging your elbow. And you should feel a stretch on this side here. And we'll hold that for about 30 seconds. Awesome. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Awesome. So we've done a lot of stretching, and it's important to get your body moving so that you're getting your joints to the end ranges where they're not normally moving to when you're sitting in a still position for a while. The next one that we're going to do is the last one for the shoulders and neck. Actually second to last one, but it'll incorporate some of the muscles that hold your shoulders back. And that's just important as stretching some of the muscles in the front. I like to stretch some of the muscles in the front first so that it opens you up, and then use some of the muscles in the back to reinforce that motion afterwards. So the next one will be a rowing exercise. Now, if you have anything around your house like cans of soup, a lot of people have little weights, elastic bands, anything that adds resistance, you can use it. You don't have to right now. You'll be getting just the same effect if you're just getting the muscles to turn on and fire. So the next one I'll show you. So you'll have a slight forward lean, and you're going to bring your arms straight back so that you're pinching your shoulder blades together. And we'll do that 10 times. Awesome. And give it a rest. We'll rest for just a few seconds, and then we'll go into a second set. The reason I have you lean forward just a little bit is so that we're reducing some of the amount of usage of the upper trap muscles as opposed to the middle and lower trap muscles. And that's really important because a lot of times we carry stress in this area. You can feel little knots and areas of stress that you'll get in here from being in this position a lot. All right, let's go into the second set. Awesome. So we'll do one more exercise for the neck and shoulders, which will address some of the middle back rotation, very, very important for shoulder health and for neck health as well. The next one will be an active exercise where you're tapping 3 times on either side of you, and I'll demonstrate it. It's a little bit easier to demonstrate than it is to explain. So what you'll do, standing, you can stand anywhere. Sometimes I have people stand in a doorway because it's easy, but you'll be tapping at hip level, shoulder level, and forehead level. So it'll look like this. So we'll go ahead and do that 10 times. So again, reaching at hip level, shoulder level, and forehead level. That looks awesome. And you can go as fast or slow as you need to. Again, very important to get some rotation through the middle of the spine. And we're just going to do one set of this exercise since we do it in 3 different directions there. So after one set, you'll be done. Awesome. Very good. So we're going to work into some of the stretches and exercises for your hips and your low back. The first one I'm going to do sitting in a chair, and it's a great stretch for some of the muscles on the outside of your hip. Very easy to do while you're teaching or while you're at work in front of a computer, or when you get home, everybody has a chair around. So I'll demonstrate this, and we'll do it for 30 seconds on either side. So you'll take your foot and you're going to put it on top of your knee like this and gently push down on the knee that's up. So it'll look like this, and you'll feel a stretch on the outside of your hip. We call this the figure 4 stretch. So we'll let you find a place to sit, and we'll go for about 30 seconds. And then we'll do 30 seconds on either side. All right, and when you're ready, you can go ahead and switch. I have a little bit less motion on this side than my other side, and you'll find that that's very, very common. One hip may feel a little bit more tight than the other. Awesome. So that's the first one for addressing some of the hip tension. The next one we're going to go into is we'll be in a kneeling position, and it'll be a stretch for the hip flexors. And the hip flexors get tight very often when you are sitting down for a prolonged period of time because your hip is in a or these muscles are in a very shortened position. Now, the hip flexors attach up on the inside of the hip and at the lumbar spine. So when you go to move after being in a sitting position for a long time, it can create back pain. So I'll demonstrate this first one. You'll be kneeling with one foot up, and you're going to kind of tuck your hips underneath you like you're tucking your tail between your legs, and immediately you should feel a stretch in the front of your leg. This is what it should look like. If you need something to hold on to, that's perfectly fine. So you'll have one leg forward, one leg back. Roll your hips so that you're tucking your tail between your legs, and gently come forward. You'll hold that for 30 seconds. From the other view, it looks like this. Right, so one leg is down. You're gonna roll your hips back so that you're tucking your tail between your legs, and you come forward like this. You should feel a stretch right in the front of your leg. Again, for balance, you can have something next to you to hold on to if you need to. All right, and we can go ahead and switch if you haven't already. Awesome. That's one of my favorite stretches, and it's something that I feel like will really benefit you, especially if you're sitting for a prolonged period of time. So that was the kneeling hip flexor stretch. The next one we'll do will be a groin stretch, and you'll complete it standing. Basically, you'll be bending one of your knees and reaching to the same side so that you're stretching your opposite side muscles on the inside of your leg. So you should feel a stretch on the inside part of the leg that is straight. Again, go as far as you need to just to feel a stretch. It doesn't need to be incredibly far. If you go just a little bit and you start to feel a stretch there, that's great. We'll hold it for 30 seconds. All right, and we can switch sides. Awesome. So we've stretched some of the rotators of the hip so far. That was the first stretch. We've stretched some of the hip flexors, and we have stretched some of the muscles on the inside of your legs. All can get very tight when you're sitting. The next thing that I think is important to do is to get some of the glute muscles working. Those are the muscles that will propel you forward, that are supposed to be nice and strong. And when they are not strong, it can create instability in the low back. Those glute muscles really create a lot of stability for your pelvis, which the low back sits on top of. So it's very important. So the next one we'll do, some of you may be familiar with it, it's called a bridge. So you'll be laying down on your back. You can do this on your bed, on the floor, on a yoga mat, whatever is most comfortable. And your knees will be bent, and you'll be pushing your glutes up into the air. So it'll look like this. We'll do 2 sets of 10. If you need to, you can put your hands out to the side for stability. And you want to feel it right in your glutes and your hamstrings. Awesome. So if you've already done 10, you can take a rest. And after a few seconds, I'll let you go into a second set. Awesome. So it looks like most of you are finishing up. When I see your heads pop up, I'll know you're done. Wonderful. So the next one that we do will be standing up, and this will work on some hip separation. So we're going to do a step forward with a little bit of rotation for the low back. If you need, or if you have trouble balancing, have something next to you like a bed or a chair, something that you can hold on to if you need to. But this will get some of the muscles in the legs working and it'll allow for some rotation through the back. So it'll look like this. We'll do it 10 times with each leg. You'll take a step forward and then rotate over the same leg that's forward. So if you're going to step with your left leg, I want you to turn to your left and then step back. And then step with your right leg and turn to your right. And then step back. Again, doesn't have to be a huge step, right? It can be a shorter step as long as you're getting that knee to bend when you're turning. And we'll do it 10 times on each leg. Awesome. And after one set, give it a little bit of a rest, and then we'll do a second set of that as well. This looks great. You guys are crushing it. Looking good. So we'll wait for everyone to finish up. These are looking awesome. All right, looks great, guys. Awesome. So the next one we're going to work on will introduce some extension into the low back. And this is important because a lot of times when we're in a sitting position for a long period of time, the hip flexors get short, they pull in the low back, and you're sitting in that kind of slump position, and you catch yourself over and over again sitting in a slump position. But getting that back into extension is going to be really good for some of the spaces that go between each segment of the spine and will allow for the nerves to move freely as they need to. So for this next one, you can complete it on the floor, on a yoga mat, on a bed. You'll be on your stomach, and you'll come up into an extension on your elbows. And then I want you to take a breath out. And you should feel some of the muscles relax. And I want you to feel the lower part of your back kind of sag down. If you have any pain during this, don't come up as high or hold off on it. Shouldn't be painful at all. And I can demonstrate for you. Awesome. So after 10 of those, you can come on back. Awesome. So this will be the last one that I'll show you. It's another one that's easy to do at your desk, and it's actually good for both the low back and the thoracic spine, which impacts the shoulders as well. Again, easy to do at your desk. If you have a place to sit, that's helpful. If not, you can kind of kneel next to your bed or next to a couch. Really, this is about stretching some of the muscles underneath the shoulders, called the lats, and they'll pull your spine into flexion like this. This one feels really, really good, and it's pretty easy. So we'll do this for 30 seconds and we'll do it twice. So it'll look like this, right? You'll have your elbows out in front of you. Notice how I'm not too rounded here, but I want my spine to get into a little bit of extension. So I'll come back, and you should let the middle part of your back here come towards the floor or your desk. And you should feel a stretch underneath. And you'll hold that for about 30 seconds. Again, easy to do if you have a rolly chair at your desk, or a chair that will slide a little bit. This looks awesome. And after 30 seconds, give it a little rest and we'll do it once more. So as you are going through this last stretch, I'll tell you that this has been taped and recorded through the Trust. So you'll have access to this afterwards. If you have any questions remembering some of these things that we went through today, I know it was a lot, but I wanted to try to address all the little things that you could do. All right. So as you guys come back, I know we are coming up on the 45-minute mark, but I'm good here for as long as you have questions. So that is all the things I wanted to show you. We've addressed some things for neck mobility, for some shoulder mobility, through the middle of the back of the hips.
Yeah, see?
All right. You are very welcome.
Thanks, dear.
You are so welcome. If anybody has any questions, you can put it in the chat. Let me know.
Thanks so much.
You are welcome.
So will you be back again next week, or is it going to be taped from now on?
So that is the plan, to be back next week.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as what I was told, I should be back next week. I don't know if it'll be as long, since I went through a lot of explaining today, but maybe a half an hour or so. That's what if I remember correctly, but I should be back.
Will it be the same exercises every week?
So some will probably be the same, and I'll definitely do something new, especially if I'm back next week. We'll mix it up a little bit.
So this is Colleen. Thanks, Connor. Can everyone hear me okay? I just want to let you know that I think you are coming back next week, and it is taped. And if anyone needs a copy of this, once we get it from Connor, you can reach out to Alexandra Fiore at AFIORE@ritrust.com.
Awesome. So thank you, Colleen. So the door tap thing with 3 points to tap, right? So that one, you're looking for some rotation through the spine. So you're going to want to keep your hips square and rotate through the middle of your back. So your hips will stay forward. So basically here, and then rotate. And the rotation should be coming through the middle of your back. And so that one we usually address for some shoulder health.
Thank you.
You are very welcome.
I have a question.
Sure.
So other than the Cobra that we did, which was really good, what else can we do for for the back? Because my posture is horrible through this learning, through the virus and.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on was the fact that, as much as you try to be conscious of your posture, it's very difficult once your focus goes to something else to maintain a good posture, even though we try. So setup is actually something that's important. So sitting in a chair with something behind your lower back that can give you some support without you having to
And
think
it
about
isn't heavy
sitting
enough.
straight.
He has other ones too. And
Maybe.
that's why they're not the same shape. They're like the bar. But I wasn't sure how heavy you wanted. So
I need a heavy one.
Is that a question?
By the way.
So yeah, so
Okay.
setting up your chair.
but I didn't know if you needed heavier than 10. So
If you had something like 25 or 30.
well,
Yeah,
I think
so
the things he
really
brought
setting up
the
a
big
chair, I
bar.
think, is one of the best things.
But I think he has little bars, but you can only do one at a time.
That way you
'cause
don't
he
have to
only
think
has
about
the
it.
clips
And that's why
the fork.
strengthening some of the
If you
glutes
can't
is
do
also
this,
important.
you could
Because if
do
you
one.
strengthen
But
the glutes,
that's why I
strengthen the muscles
said
that support the
he
low
does
back,
heavier
you're
stuff.
not going to have as hard of a time maintaining a good position. You won't have to think about it. So I think doing things like bridges, which will progress next time to make it a little bit more challenging if you feel like you need more of a challenge, we can do that as well. I'll show you a different way to progress that one. But setting up the chair so that there's some lumbar support. Some chairs are adjustable, some aren't. A lot of times I'll have patients who put a towel roll behind their lower back, and that way it gives it a little bit of support, keeping that natural curve without having to think about it. Because a lot of times you come forward like this, and as soon as you direct your attention towards what you were doing, your posture comes back. But again, that's why strengthening some of the muscles in the back is helpful.
How about those like posture belts or something? You see.
The harnesses, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
What do you think about those?
So I am not a huge fan of those, and here's why. So if you want to have posture that is able, or good posture that is able to be maintained, you really want to be using the muscles that help you to get there. And the harness will promote a kind of a learned unuse of those muscles. And then when you go to do something throughout the day that then creates movement through whatever body part you're using the harness. So for the shoulders, right, if you're keeping your shoulders back, then all of a sudden when you have to go and use the muscles that go and do that movement, they're going to be overworked because you're not used to being in that position using them. So I would say work on exercises that strengthen some of the muscles in the back and lengthen some of the muscles in the front before going to use some of the harness things, because I think that you'll avoid injury better that way.
Thank you. That
You're
was
welcome. Anytime. Any other questions for me? All right. Well, if you don't have any more questions, then we're all set, and I
I
will
think
see
there
you
is
next
one
week.
more,
Oh,
Connor.
one more. So I'm Leo. Connor is actually just our HR guy, so
Oh, okay, sorry.
that's okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Where do we have what? Oh, how often should we do all these?
Yes.
Great question. There it is. So for the stretches aren't going to cause you any pain if you overdo it like you would from lifting. So I usually like to do them 2 or 3 times a day, especially if you're sitting at a computer for a long period of time. Especially some of the ones that are easy to do while you're sitting down, like the ones to the side. Some of these ones are easy, the stretch out front. So you can do those 2 or 3 times a day. Some of my patients like to set timers on their phones that keep them moving every 30 minutes. And that's an easy way to incorporate some of these things. Some of the strengthening ones like the bridges or maybe some of the lunges and things like that we did, You don't need to do them really more than once or twice a day. Those, if you do too many of them, you might get sore from them. So I would say maybe hold off on that a little bit. Next week, we'll work on incorporating some of the core exercises for some of the core muscles in the front. And some of those I would say do once or twice a day. But as long as you're not doing anything with really heavy weights, it's unlikely that you're going to have a ton of soreness that's going to cause you a problem. So the easy, simple answer I would say 2 times a day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you next week.
See you next week. Any other questions, just let me know.
Thanks so much, Leo.
You're welcome.
We look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
You too. Thank you. We'll see you next week.